Alright, so here I already have the solutions all written up, so I'm just going to walk you through it. So for the amplitude, you get it from here. It's a 1. The Rx means reflecting over the x-axis. The period is 2 pi because B is 1. The phase shift, you set the argument equal to 0 and you get pi over 3, so it goes to the right. Vertical displacement is 3 units down. And reflection, yes, over the x-axis. So the first thing I did is I drew the horizontal asymptote right here at negative y equals to negative 3. And then I did the pi over 3. Notice how, in class I always just draw four tick marks for every period. But this time I counted 12. Let's see, 2, 4, 10, 12. And the reason for that is because of the pi over 3. 3 goes into 12 evenly, so I thought it'd be easy to move the period to the right. Pi over 3 if I use 12 tick marks for 2 pi. So for 1 pi it's 6 tick marks, which makes it 2. This is pi over 3 right here. So it's easier to draw it that way. Okay? So everything got moved over to the right 2 tick marks. So the middle is no longer here, but here. So there's a dot. And the end is no longer there, but there. And oops, the dot, I didn't move it enough, but probably should be a little bit further out. And because of the reflection, the 1/4 goes down and the 3/4 goes up. Okay, so here, this is where it normally would be, but you move it over 2 places and then you go straight down and it's right there. Okay, so there's a graph. Number 2, the amplitude doesn't have one, right? Period is pi because it's pi over 1. Phase shift is pi over 2 to the left because of the plus. You know it that the h is negative, or the c is negative. Vertical displacement 2 down, and then yes, it's reflected over the x-axis. Okay, so the horizontal asymptote goes at negative 2, so I drew it here. Normally the period is half and half, right? It would have been here and here, the asymptote, the left one and the right one. But because it got moved to the left, pi over 2, that's 2 tick marks over and 2 tick marks over, so it lands right here. The tangent is usually like this. Okay, follow the pointer. But because of the negative a value, it reflects over the x-axis, so that's why it goes this way instead. Okay, and this dot right here is 1 unit above the horizontal, and this one is 1 unit below the horizontal. Okay, for number 3, the amplitude is 1 because the a value is 1. The period is 2 pi over 2. You get the 2 from here, so that makes it pi. The phase shift, you set this equal to 0 and you solve for x, and you get negative pi over 2, which means pi over 2 to the left. Vertical displacement, this is a positive 2, so it goes 2 units up. And this one has no reflection over the x-axis or the y. Alright, so vertical asymptote. I used 4 squares for pi because that's 4 tick marks, that's the period. And so pi over 2 to the left means 2 tick marks over. Okay, and then on y equals 2, you have the horizontal asymptote. This is cosine, so the maximum happens at the beginning and the end, minimum in the middle, and then the zeros on the 1/4 and 3/4. So on these, I'm just drawing 1 period. Okay, you could continue and draw more, but 1 period is enough. Alright, number 4. No amplitude, but we know the a value is 1. The period is pi because it's pi over 1. Phase shift is pi over 4 to the right because that's a minus, so it's pi over 4 to the right. Vertical displacement, 1 unit up, and no reflection. So first thing I did is I drew the horizontal asymptote on y equals 1. Tangent normally has not normally, but when you start tangent, you do half on the left, half on the right. But because of the pi over 4 to the right, the one that used to be here is now here, and the one that used to be here is now here. Okay, and so you have this one and this one. So the middle is right here. Okay, and the 1/4 goes to the bottom at 1 unit from the horizontal asymptote, and the 3/4 goes to the top, 1 unit above the horizontal asymptote, and then just connect them, the points. Again, I just drew one on this one. I think on all of them I drew one. Number 5. Amplitude is 2. You get that from here. The period is 2 pi over b, which is over 1, so it's 2 pi. Phase shift is 3 pi over 2 to the left. Why? Because that's a minus, so that means it moves to the left. Because when you set this argument equal to 0, x is negative. Vertical displacement is 3 units up, and no reflection because the a is positive and the x is positive, so no reflection. It's a cosine graph, so first thing we do is draw the horizontal asymptote at y equals 3, and then 1.5 pi is 3 tick marks over 1, 2, 3. So this is my new y-axis. So this is my maximum, beginning and end. Minimum is 1/4. Not minimum. 0 is 1/4 and 3/4, and the minimum is in the middle. And notice how it's 2 units this way and 2 units this way. That's the amplitude. And again, I drew one period. Number 6. Amplitude is 1/2. Period is 2 pi over 3. You set the argument equal to 0 and you get x equals negative pi, so it's pi to the left. No vertical displacement this time and no reflection. So when the period is 2 pi over 3, here it is 1, 2, 3, 4. But then you're going to move everything to the left pi units. Well, if 4 tick marks is 2 pi over 3, that means 6 tick marks is 1 pi. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where the asymptote goes. Okay, but it still takes 4 tick marks to complete the cycle. So that's why you have the beginning, the middle, the end. Maximum is 1/4, minimum is 3/4. And it's a half a unit here, a half a unit here. Okay, so I should have probably extended it to the right, but for this worksheet I just did one period again. Alright, so 7 through 14 is just writing, explaining, describing what happened. So the amplitude here, actually I didn't even notice it was tangent. So let me fix that. The amplitude would be none because it's tangent. Okay, but the period is pi over 3 because this is a 3, so pi over b. There is a reflection over the x-axis, and let me add a vertical stretch by factor of 2. Okay, number 8. It's a secant, so that's why the amplitude is none. Period is 2 pi because it's 2 pi over 1. Reflection over the x-axis because of that negative. Vertical stretch by a factor of 4. Number 9. Amplitude is none because it's a cosecant. Period is 2 pi over 4, so you get pi over 2. And vertical stretch by a factor of 3. Number 10. Amplitude is none because it's a cotangent. Period is pi because it's pi over 1. Vertical stretch by a factor of 2, this one. And phase shift pi over 2 to the left because you set this equal to 0, and when you solve for x you get negative pi over 2. 11. Cosecant. Amplitude is none. Period is 2 pi over 1, which is 2 pi. Vertical stretch by a factor of 2. And you set this equal to 0 and you get x equals pi, so it's pi to the right. And number 12, secant. Amplitude is none. Period, pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2. Vertical stretch by a factor of 2. This one reflects over the x-axis, and not just that, it has a vertical translation by up 2 units. and that up 2 units is from here. 13, cosine, the amplitude is 3. Okay, this cosine does have an amplitude. The period is 2 pi over 6 right here, so you reduce it to pi over 3. You set this equal to 0, the argument, and you get pi over 6 to the left for vertical, not vertical translation. I was too tired. It's for phase shift. Okay? And then reflection over the x-axis because the A is negative. Number 14, you have amplitude is 1 because this is sine. Period 2 pi over 2/3 because that's 2/3 right there. So when you simplify this, you end up with 3 pi. Reflection over the x-axis because the A is negative. And vertical translation is up 2 units. Okay? Number 15. It's a cosine graph. The period is 4 pi. Amplitude is 3. Phase shift right pi over 3. Or, sorry, pi over 2. Vertical displacement or vertical translation upwards by 2. Okay? So the only work you really have to show is how to find the b, and that's right here. 2 pi over b is 4 pi because that's the length of the period. You solve for b. You get b equals 2 pi over 4 pi, which is 1/2. So here it is. Y equals a cosine b x minus the c, and it's pi over 2. And then plus d, the vertical translation. Now this is acceptable. But if you want the b inside of the parentheses, you just distribute it here and you end up with this. Oh, and I forgot to write the 2. So plus 2. And then for number 16, you have a sine curve, period of pi, amplitude 2, phase shift left pi over 2, and vertical displacement down 1. So again, here's the work to find the b. 2 pi over b is pi, so b is 2 when you simplify, when you cross multiply and solve. So here it is. Y equals a, which is 2, sine of b, which is 2, times x minus c. Because it goes to the left, this is a plus. And then down 1, so minus 1. Distribute the 2 if you want, and you end up with this.